Welcome back to the Healing Voice podcast. My name is Lance Howard, and this is part 5 of the Create the Life You Love series titled Mastermind, in which we discuss how to weed out negative thoughts and plant positive thoughts, the principle of life that we are always creating or are always at manifestation, creating our lives out of love rather than greed or egoic needs, leadership, procrastination, and decision making. If you haven't heard the new TikTokin' single, you'll want to look up THV TikTokin' on iTunes, Spotify, or any major music streaming service. I'll leave a link in the description. So this is part 5 of our Dream Master series that is titled Create the Life You Love. And part 5 is called Mastermind. And its subtitle, I guess, is Unity in Diversity. So, I'm going to read from Matthew 16, and we'll just see where this goes. It says, "Who do people say I, the true I, the child of humanity, am? Who do people say I, the child of primordial human I amness, is?" They answered, "Some say you are John the Immerser, others say you are Elijah, others say you are Jeremiah, or one of the prophets, those who speak divine messages and interpret the divine will under the inspiration of the Sacred One. But what do you say that I am? Who do you say the true I is?" he asked. And Peter answered, "You are the Anointed One, the child of the living, quickening higher power, the great I am. I is the Anointed One, the progeny of the one true self." Yeshua replied, Fortune and happiness belong to you. You are well off, right on the mark, level, prosperous, stable, strong, and guided. Because this was not made clear to you by anything in this physical existence, but by the parent of the universe. And I am telling you something important. You are Peter. His name is Peter, meaning rock. And on this rock, the truth you have spoken, I, the Anointed One, will confirm and construct the community of those who are called or divinely summoned and invited. The door of Hades, which is the world or the matrix or mindset of death, darkness, and obscurity, will not overpower them. And I will give you, all of you and them, the keys of the fully formed extension of power, determined, centralized, purposeful authority, the creative word, the empowering vision, the counsel that rules by its ability to express the most obvious next step for a group and an individual. The quality of rulership and the ruling principles that guide our lives towards sacred unity. The sacred world, realm, or universe of vibration, sound, light, energy that vibrates without limit through the entire manifested cosmos. This place extends from a center that is nowhere and everywhere, vibrating through all of life, constantly reporting that nothing is separate, everything is one. Whatever you figuratively, mentally, and emotionally wind together, bind in knots, knit, tie, or hang on to in physical existence, this three-dimensional world of particle and form, material and visible existence of nature and embodied reality, it will be bound in the multidimensional world of empowering and creative vision, vibration, sound, light, and energy. Whatever you figuratively let go of, or drop, or untangle, or dissolve, or melt away that was tied or fastened in the physical world will be loosened or let go of in the world of empowering and creative vision, vibration, sound, light, and energy. So, what Peter's answer about who the true I is the thing that we've been getting at all along, right? About the nature of the I am and that the I is the anointed one, or the I is the avatar, or the I is the archetype, the progeny of the one true self. And the reply to Peter's answer is that there will be a group of people who will understand the nature of the I am so well that they will have the keys. This is a funny thing to say. They will have the keys of power, but it described power as this fully formed extension of power that is determined and purposeful. It is the creative word. It is the empowering vision. It is the counsel that rules by its ability to express the most obvious next step for a person in a group. It is the quality of rulership and principles that guide our lives towards sacred unity. This power is the sacred world or realm or universe of vibration, sound, light, and energy. Those who have this insight into the I am have this quality of power. It is the most true power that there is. It is the reason behind all reasons. It is the decision behind all decisions. Which is why he said, look, whatever you hold on to in your physical existence, you're creating that same energy in quote unquote heaven, like that vibration sticks. And whatever you let go of vibrationally also gets loosened or let go of in your physical experience. And that's all fine and good. The thing is, the mystery of hanging on to things and not realizing that we are. And it seems to me that a really simple trick or life hack is, if I'm feeling, I say it's an interesting trick or life hack because it really does require self-awareness to even get into this. And it is, if I'm feeling negativity of any type, of any quality, then I'm hanging on. I'm hanging on to negativity. So the principle works both ways, right? In our negative experiences and our positive experiences. Whatever you hang on to is being held on to in your life, and whatever you let go of is being let go in your life. So we don't actually choose. Our heart of hearts is not to experience negativity. That's not the thing that we're after. So how wonderful would it be to always be aware when the negative thought or emotion arises and you put it to rest immediately? Like that's an amazing ability that we're all capable of. And, or you know how you may feel something that's not so comfortable and it instantly just kind of grabs you in a certain way, and now you're carrying it, but you don't have to carry it, right? Like we talked last night about separating yourself from the thoughts and the feelings. But boy, does this need our practice. It needs our constant awareness.
I wrote this a long time ago. The stopping tool. Whatever you're paying attention to grows, so feed wisely. Practice turning away from the thoughts that don't produce peace. Catch yourself thinking and following the icky feelings. Stop the icky dead in its tracks. Find something that pleases you, real or imagined, and focus on that.
So then it follows that if we can get in touch with this, and clarifying that, getting in touch is realizing I am. That was the question. Who do you say I am? And so getting in touch with I am and using that presence and that wisdom as the reason to take a look at the thoughts, as the, I guess, the momentum or the inspiration. It's like an increasing sense of purpose and identity. And that's what fuels us to look at the thoughts and to weed them out and to plant positive ones. So we can get caught in the trap of wanting to create things in our lives or manifest things in our lives just because it's a fad or just because it sounds like something positive to do. But the law is saying, or the principle of life is saying, you are always at creation. You are always manifesting for better or for worse. Mm-hmm. And consequence is a strong word, but it also helps us take it seriously. There are consequences to your manifestation, even if you imagine it's a good one. Meaning you will get a result, and because of your finite mind, you may not expect the consequence to come on what seems like something that was really good. And so this is why, for example, how do we know what's truly good is what I'm getting at, I suppose.
Because it's manifested out of love, not out of need or desire.
Yeah, that was perfect. If love is not the reason, then you're going to have some struggles with what you're manifesting. So people, I'm just going to thank you for sharing about the thing this morning. Mm-hmm. That the fad is focus on money.
Right.
You're not manifesting from love if you're focusing on money. Right. That just doesn't work.
Exactly.
It doesn't work that way. In fact, it is the one ancient saying is it is the love of money, which is the root of evil. Mm-hmm. So we have to be so careful with the power of manifestation. Mm-hmm. There is a good way to approach money with manifestation, and it starts with identity and purpose. Mm-hmm. And love is so wrapped up in that. And if we're not approaching it from there, wow, we'll end up doing what very rich and powerful people have already done, essentially the exact same thing, where sure, you've manifested all these great things in your lives, but how many lives did you ruin along the way? And what will the consequences of, what are the consequences to follow? Mm-hmm. That can't always be said, but obviously just the effect on people is a consequence. That is very important to pay attention to, I think. So imagine if you get people together like us who are thinking this way, not just thinking it, but walking it out, meaning they understand the principles and they're actively practicing and putting this loving manifestation to work, and they see the evidence in their lives and they bring their hearts together and choose to focus. So the idea of the mastermind is bringing many minds together, connecting them, creating group congruence, bringing people in sync as one to create and carry out plans for the desired result. And by the word desire, we're meaning affection and pure attraction, which we talked about in the first part of this series. And that's what Changemakers and Dream Team is about. It's collectively coming together and getting that sense of unity, and that everyone has something to offer that makes the group amazing and makes Lance better, because there are others with skills and things to offer as well. Helps Lance think outside the box about his life and his situations. Mastermind, bringing many minds together and connecting and being congruent and in sync as one. And together they create and carry out plans for the desired result. So this helps me think about THV as a brainchild of a collective effort, right? It's like, oh, these people, like you persons, are contributing whether you realize it or not. And so I'm going to read another one that we've heard from before. This is from Matthew 18. This is the THV version again. He says, I tell you truly and firmly, whatever you wind together, bind in knots, knit, tie, or hang onto in physical existence, this three-dimensional world, it will be bound in the multidimensional world of empowering and creative vision. Whatever you let go of, drop, untangle, dissolve, or melt away that was tied or fastened in the physical world will be let go of in the world of empowering and creative vision. I tell you, if two of you come into a chord, agree in harmony, vibrate together, mutually consenting and giving your life support as instruments for one purpose, like a symphony made up of diverse parts, about anything you affectionately and magnetically desire in the physical world, it will be done for you by the one parent or the generator or ancestor of us all. Wherever two or more souls come together in harmony and rhythm with the energy and frequency of the I Am, there I Am will be. I Am will be there among them and within them. They will resonate with the true self, achieving a higher state of consciousness, awareness, and love. They will entangle with the I Am, the self behind, within, and among their self. It sounds to me like this group, two or more, who have this harmony and this rhythm and they're in sync, anything they put their mind to, they can do and they will accomplish. So he said this to a group about a group, but he also said it to, in the previous reading, he was speaking in a group, but he didn't mention wherever there is a group, then this is the way things can be. He just said, look, if you will do this, you can do the same thing, right? So this is why it becomes this whole thing about having the keys of the kingdom, is the way it's typically translated, is that these keys are also the council that rules by its ability to express the most obvious next step for a group and an individual. This is like really, really amazing and powerful. So, like one string or instrument can cause the other to ring, the vibration from one person can cause the others to ring. We have all felt what it's like to feel the, quote, energy of another person, whether positive or negative. Our collective energy can do much more than change the atmosphere. Stimulation through harmonious intention brings about creative inspiration and action. This is the catalyst of positive change.
Can I add something?
Mm-hmm.
And I think too, like, that's how big world change happens, right? Like, it starts small with that core group of like-minded people, and you're feeding off each other's energy, and then that's going to build upon when one person goes and interacts with another group and that energy is built upon. And then next thing you know, it is ripple effect, but maybe my brain is seeing it more as like that brainstorming spiderweb diagram kind of thing, where like you branch out, it's this circle and then it's 5 circles off of that circle. And then each of those 5 circles is branched out into more and more and more and more and more. And as long as that energy and that vibration is of the right caliber or the right quality, then positive change is going to occur. But I feel like it's really easy to also be sucked into the negative as well. Where, I know from personal experience, there have been many times in my life where I have stopped talking to a friend at a certain point because it's just a negative cycle of when, my friend bitching about things going on in her life, and then, I fall into the trap, and then it's just almost this one-upping of who's worse, as opposed to these are the things that I'm grateful for in my life, or these are the positive things happening. It can go either way, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And being aware of that and honoring yourself to say, you know what, this isn't a conversation I'm choosing to have right now, or this isn't something that I'm choosing to give energy to.
One way to translate the word God is unity in diversity. This is another way of saying love. When we realize how unity and diversity is the foundation of our personal identity, we are on the path to understanding how unity and diversity is the most true foundation of all our relationships. To be cooperative is God-likeness, because God is cooperative. We are in this way the image of God. Wow, and that has the power to bring so much rest to so much upheaval and disharmony. It's like every struggle I allow myself to take on in relationship to anything is just ridiculous. Why struggle? That is not why you're here. Now, struggle is part of the experience, but you get to observe struggle and then pull out the good things, or you can become entangled with struggle, and you have the power to make the choice. And so I like how earlier we were saying some things about manifestation and how a lot of the same things get repeated, but it's the mindset of actually understanding and why you would choose to put these things into practice that matter. What does it really mean to create the life you love? What does that really mean? It means don't worry, be happy. That's the easiest place to start. Don't worry, be happy. It means, all the crazy things you've imagined or harmful things you've imagined, and most of them didn't come to pass. Start with that. Just remember that you have imagined so many things and nothing went wrong. You were just in your imagination. So what if we take all that imaginative power and begin to imagine really wonderful things, positive, life-giving, supportive, nourishing things, and put all the negative things to rest, and constantly separating ourselves from it so that it becomes an issue that is so far over there. It's I used to be in the midst of that, but now it's so far over there. It's it literally becomes laughable. The Pairs Program research at Princeton University has confirmed that 2 persons in a loving bond, connected heart to heart, have stronger energy influences than persons working together who do not share this type of love or power of resonating energy bonds. They point out that the recipe for the life force energy influence is also the recipe for any form of love, the surrender of self-centered interests of the partners in favor of the pair. I really like that. So again, manifestation based in how do I create more money for myself. This is now letting self-centered interest get in there, and it doesn't actually do any of this that we're talking about. It creates more divisiveness at the end of the day because the person is so centered on getting what they want
As an individual, not
as an individual.
a-
Yes. Yes. You guys remember the Bruce Almighty movie? He wanted to be God. He was trying to answer everyone's prayers, and it just didn't work. It just can't work. Most of the prayers are self-centered prayers. And so, if you give everyone everything they want in their self-centeredness, you literally just bring the world to crashing down. And in this sense, this is how we also know that God is love, because we have these prayers often. And by prayer, we're just meaning intention, belief, full-hearted imagination. We are believing all sorts of things. And God is being so gracious to not give us everything that we're putting out there. But is also saying, look, you have the power to have anything that you would choose to love that's going to really work for you and really help you be who you're meant to be and live out your purpose here. You can have it all. Just learn how to use the principles properly and it will come. That little bit I read was from the Heart's quote by Paul Pearsall. And another one is, when two or more people coordinate in a spirit of harmony and work toward a definite objective, they place themselves in position through that alliance to absorb power directly from the great universal storehouse of infinite intelligence. This is the greatest of all sources of power. And that's from Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. So a few questions. What plans and changes are you implementing to create the life you love? What plans and changes are you implementing to create the life you love? What plans and changes are you implementing to get out of the situation you no longer want to be in? What plans and changes are you implementing to see your dreams and aspirations become a reality? We don't have to answer these out loud, but I just think they're amazing questions. Really bringing some focus, right? It's like we can talk about manifestation and creating and all of that, but what are you actually trying to accomplish? What are those plans that you're implementing to create the life you love? You do have to take some steps. What are you doing to get out of the situation you no longer want to be in? You do have to take some steps. What plans and changes are you putting into place to see your dreams and aspirations become a reality? So mastermind, we said it's about bringing people together, even if it's just two. We have mastermind. We have the mastermind. Here's the cool thing about this. You get to be part of the mastermind experience even when it's just you. Because remember, in the first passage that we read, he said all that about having the keys and being able to use them. And he didn't say it took 2 or 3. He just said, you can do this. So you can do this. And the mastermind piece is that we're talking about divine intelligence. You connected to the true you, that is mastermind right there. And it's amazing. And remember at the retreat, we talked about Abba and Amma and Akka as father and mother and son. Okay, so you got 3, and then there's you. We're talking mastermind stuff here that you get to tap into. If you get a hold of all of that and then bring it into the group, the world can change really fast. Your life can change really fast. And we should say your life can change really fast as the most important thing, and therefore the world can change really fast. It actually has to go in that order. And does it make sense as to why it has to go in that order? Why should my life change before the world changes? It has to be that way because we're talking about world change. We're talking about world change, which means, okay, how is it going to be that the world will change if my life hasn't? That just doesn't work. Oh, the world's changed, but my life hasn't. That's not possible. If the world is changing, that means my life has to change too. Or it's like saying, love your neighbor as yourself. The love has to begin with me is what that sentence means. The change has to begin with me, which I'm sure you've heard some version of, right? Like, be the change you want to see in the world. This is why it has to start with you and your life. Okay. Find your tribe of like-minded, like-spirited people in the pursuit of personal excellence and success. Choose carefully, choose wisely. Discover what benefits and advantages you have to offer. Discover what they have to offer. Meet regularly until you have jointly perfected plans. Harmony and cooperation is paramount. There is strength in unity. Okay, so I just talked about a tribe and how and what that tribe should feel like. I'm just going to read that again. Find your tribe of like-minded, like-spirited people in the pursuit of personal excellence and success. Choose carefully and wisely. There have been some people who've tried to come into what we've been up to, Dream Masters and Change Makers, THV, and they're not interested. And so they don't stay. Mm-hmm. That's perfect. We're trying to get in harmony here. And if this doesn't work for you,
that's okay.
Please go find what works for you. Mm-hmm. So choose carefully and choose wisely. Discover what benefits and advantages you have to offer. Okay. Discover what they have to offer. Meet regularly until you have jointly perfected plans. Harmony and cooperation is paramount. So disagreeable people cause problems in groups. Ooh, imagine that. And we took one of those assessments. It scores you on agreeableness and disagreeableness. I just pity the disagreeable person, because where can you fit in where you're going to be able to absorb and give life, support, help? You're disagreeable. How are you going to use these keys to manifest things that you actually love? You're disagreeable, which means you probably disagree with yourself, which means you may plant a good seed and then rip it right back out. You're disagreeable. This is a challenge for that style of person. So we're acknowledging that it's not always easy to exist in the program of our personhood, but we can override the program. We just have to get so honest. Yes, I'm disagreeable. That is a major problem. Someone please walk beside me and help me learn to be more agreeable, which means my ego really has to come down, so I can be receptive, and because that's the only way people will want to put up with me in the first place. Like get honest, talk about it, think it through, and also not being so judgmental towards oneself in that. Also, it's like you got to be gracious to yourself as well, while also trying to learn not to be disagreeable. So it's like, oh, I'm a disagreeable asshole. Like that's, now you're fighting against yourself, and instead of going, I'm disagreeable, but I'm working on it. Mm-hmm. Oh. Okay, there is strength in unity. Choose what you love and can render as service, and create your plan with that thing. Choose what you love and can render as service. Very simple thing, right? Really make sure you love it. Oh goodness, I love seeing people light up and they say, I love that. And they're talking about the thing that is so unique to them. And it just happened the other day, and it just made me smile. Now I can't remember who I was talking to, and they said it like 2 or 3 times. And I just love that. And their whole being just lights up. Mm. How can you take what you love and give it as a service to the world? Because this is your way to help the world with the thing that you love. And you create your plan and you put your plan into action, and it just takes persistence. I think in the first part of this series, maybe the second part, we said the foundation of a plan is knowing who you are and knowing what you're here to do. If you don't have those two things very well understood, then your plan is just like any other plan that's happening in the world, where people are going about things and creating whatever organizations and businesses and ending up miserable and not really reaching the goals that they truly would choose, because they created a plan not based in their identity and not based on their purpose. Perhaps that is the case. It's just nice to be really clear about identity and purpose before you even get started, and then you know that you have something that's foolproof, because it's based in who you actually are and not some wild idea that just popped up on YouTube and you're like, oh, that's a good idea, why don't I do that? It seems like, just go within, know who you are, and ignore everything else. Leader. We're still talking about mastermind and groups and how we come together and harmonize to make plans. So typically there's some leading presence in a group or leaders in a group. As under leader, I put unwavering courage based in self-knowledge, self-mastery, emotionally intelligent, love, balance, solid decision-making, solid planning, respectful, easy to get along with, understanding, detail-oriented and organized, foresight, insight, takes responsibility for mistakes, cooperative, consentful, humble, supportive, imaginative, uplifting, friendly, peer-oriented, not forceful. This is leadership. Any thoughts on leadership? No?
Like additional thoughts, or
Sure.
just in what you had said?
Yeah, anything at all.
No, I think that hits it. Like, that's what we need, and we don't see a lot of that, and it gets frustrating when you don't have that, and when you do, it's like this amazing thing that like people are just blown away that we have a leader that actually listens to us as humans and cares about us, and we're like, that should not be amazing, that should be the standard.
I think it's also important to think about, like, leadership doesn't just have to be the one person at the top, right? Like, we are all leaders in different capacities and different groups, and you know, like, even thinking about my second graders years ago, like, there was a leader of the group, and it wasn't always the same student, you know, like, so I guess it's not like this thing that's like you're searching for or you're aiming for, or it's your end goal is to be the leader. Like, everybody is a leader in some capacity.
Like, it doesn't have to be a hierarchy situation.
And there may be some times where I act as a leader in certain circumstances, and others where I don't.
Right.
100%.
There's definitely a time when the leader knows it's time to take a back seat and just stays in the shadows or is quiet or whatever is necessary in the moment. Introversion and extroversion play a huge role in leadership. I'm going to speak out of some bias perhaps, but I think introverts are really good leaders, and I think extroverts kind of take the show for leadership because of flamboyance, but introverts typically, not always, they're very sensitive, and they don't really want to tell you what they know at all. Like, so that means their ego is already way down here, and they don't want to come out and shine. And so they're not going to try to steal anyone's thunder. They're not going to try to speak over you. Like, introverts kind of naturally have some of these characteristics that we read about, just being humble and cooperative and peer-oriented.
And I think along those lines too is like I guess when I think about my introverted peers who are quality leaders, they're more of a lead by example, like do as I do, not as I say kind of a leader.
Procrastination, gossip, negative opinions, self-serving suggestions, and other outside influences will keep you from making your own decision about what to do now and next. This is where identity and purpose are a must. While you are procrastinating, someone else is doing what you could have and is making progress. Procrastination is deciding to do nothing about the problem, the question, or the struggle. That's a strong sentence there at the end, but about it being a decision to do nothing. It's a decision to do nothing, at least in this moment. That doesn't mean you won't change your mind later and actually do something. And sure, someone out there is always, there's always the potential that someone is moving when you've decided to not move, and that doesn't matter. In the grand scheme of things, it's like knowing it's okay to rest is one thing. And so you may procrastinate in the form of just needing to rest, but I think here we're hitting on habitual procrastinations, like you're just putting off and putting off. And then you may have to ask, why am I putting this off? What am I afraid of? Ultimately is the thing that needs to be asked. We're talking about creating the life you love and the steps or plans you want to formulate to get to that. There's nothing more important. So what's the real issue? Why the procrastination? Why would you put off the thing that's going to bring you fulfillment and satisfaction? There's probably some deep-rooted emotional things there that need a good look. And finally, decision-making puts you on the course of progress. Decision-making requires courage, but not a lot. You are always deciding one way or another. Why not decide to take control of your life? Any thoughts on leadership, procrastination, and decision-making?
I think the one thought I have on procrastination is like maybe more of a question. If you know who you are and what you're here to do, then procrastination is likely fear-based. But is it still procrastination if you haven't figured out who you are and what you're here to do? Like I'm not pursuing my dream because maybe it's not my dream because I don't know who I am? So is that still procrastination, or is that...
Not in the context of talking about the dream, no. I'm saying in our context this evening, we're discussing creating a life you love. So our notion of procrastination is only related to creating a life you love. And so if you don't know what you love, then we can't really call it procrastination. Though we can say other things are procrastination, like why didn't you take the garbage out, right? So that's a different issue altogether. Yeah.
And maybe the procrastination then is in your fear of figuring out who you are?
Right. Or what you love. What is that affectionate desire that's like, gosh, I would do that. I would do it for hours and I'd be so in love with it. And I'd have so much energy and I'd feel so good. And what do you love? And how can that be rendered as a service is the next part of it.
I think the only thing was you'd said something about procrastination and rest. And that I would say true rest is never procrastination. It's something that has to happen. Procrastination is that deep understanding that, like, I could do this and I'm choosing not to.
Something about what you said reminded me of laziness, and it just made me consider laziness. And someone said, you're not lazy, you just don't love what you do, or whatever it is that you think you need to do, you just don't love it. It's not that you're lazy. And I think it was the same person who said, you're not a perfectionist, you just care too much about what other people think. And I find those two ideas about laziness and perfectionism very interesting. That was me. I judged myself as lazy, and it turned out I just hated what I had to do. I couldn't figure that out for the longest while. Like, what is wrong with me that I just won't do this? It's right here, it's right there, it's not even that difficult. Why don't I just go ahead and just get it done, And turns out I just hated it. And it just wasn't me. And there's again, I like to tap into talking about things we're not educated on, but this kind of emotional intelligence we're not educated on. We're so forced to think one way about things, but we're not being told, notice the things that you love, and notice how much energy you can spend there. And also notice the things that you don't love and how little energy you want to spend there. Like, know these things about yourself, and it will make the decision making easier down the line when it's time to decide which side of the family you want to visit, or what job description you think you're going to fit into best. Like, young kids need to know these things. They absolutely need to know, or they're going to suffer through the same confusion and heartache and things that we've had to go through to get to this point. Thanks for listening to the Healing Voice podcast. The passages I read are my own THV translation and are available at thv-tv.com. Sign up for Bible Redefined. Email me at thvtv@protonmail to inquire about a free trial of the Bible Redefined library. I also invite you to try the identity process. Get to know the answers to these questions. Who am I, and what am I here to do? Go to the website, thv-tv.com, to make your initial appointment. Feel free to email me at thvtv@protonmail.com.